this weekend to a place called Hog Island. I don't know if you've been there.
No,
It's
no.
probably about an hour and maybe an hour and a half away from here.
Okay.
And it's a really nice, like it's
Like going up, down,
up. It's going north. Yeah,
Okay.
it's going towards the Ocala National Forest.
Okay,
I think
okay,
it's on the edge of it. And it's like it's pretty primitive, but
Okay.
they have like facilities. So there's like a full bathroom
Okay.
with showers and stuff like that. But the site itself is pretty primitive. It has like grills and
Wow.
it has like a fire pit, and I think it has like a grill for the fire pit, and there is, I want to say it's non-potable water for like showers. So if you had a RV, you could plug up the RV to take showers with it, but I wouldn't drink that water. I think it's like well water, and it's not filtered. Okay. So you could drink it, but I wouldn't.
Yeah. That's really cool, man. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So awesome. What kind of camping do you do?
We have been to North Carolina, Georgia. We have been to oh my gosh, Fort DeSoto.
Oh, I love Fort DeSoto. Yeah, it's so hard to get a campsite in there, man.
We got like 2 days, man. Like we're always checking, and now we got the opportunity to go there. Yeah. We camp Smyrna Beach too, in front of the beach.
New Smyrna Beach is cool. That was actually we found New Smyrna Beach completely by accident. So my youngest daughter went to like one of those science camps, like a technology and science camp that was out in Embry-Riddle. And she wanted to go. So we were like, okay, we'll head out. We'll just make a trip of it. My wife and I were both working remote at the time. And we stayed at one place in Daytona, and it was a shithole, to be honest with you. It was terrible. Yeah. So I literally called the people. I was like, "Hey, listen, we need our money back. This is terrible." Like it was, it was dirty and messy. It was hair, like fur everywhere. Because they had dogs and stuff like that. They didn't clean anything. It was just terrible. Even the food in the microwave, it was just nasty. I was like, "Oh, this is terrible." So it was so bad that I literally called them up. I'm like, "Listen, we can't stay here. This house is a hot mess. Like, we need a refund."
It wasn't like an Airbnb.
Yeah, Airbnb. Oh, wow. And they immediately were like, "No problem." Like,
so they knew.
They knew it was they knew it was a shit show. So we got a refund, and so I called an Airbnb that was available in New Smyrna, and I didn't know anything about New Smyrna, but it was like I think 20 minutes away, right? So I was like, well, it can't be any worse than what we got. So I called him. I was like, hey, listen, we got a budget of, and I told them what we had for that week. I think it was like for the week, I think we had budgeted like $850 or something like that. And that's why we got that one. And we called them. I was like, hey, listen, I got a budget. I see you have an Airbnb here, but I think they were off. I think their price was like $1,500 or something like that. Wow. And I called them. I was like, hey, listen, I got $850. Like, is there any chance you guys can work with us? And they said yes, because they didn't have anybody.
Sure, yeah.
And we weren't even thinking about it. It was 4th of July weekend.
Oh, wow.
We didn't even know. Like, we weren't even paying attention to that, right? We were just like there for my daughter's thing, and that's what we were paying attention to. So we were just like, yeah, we got it. And then we ended up getting there, and like the 4th of July was like 2 nights in or something like that. It was a beautiful Airbnb, by the way. And the whole beach got lit up. Like they do their 4th of July, It rivals what we see at Disney. It was insane.
I didn't know.
Yeah, it was crazy. But that's awesome. How we found New Smyrna Beach. We're like, where is this place? And then New Smyrna Beach, they were like, okay, never even heard of it. It was cool. It was a cool place. That was a cool place. Yeah. All right. Let me do the formal intro. This is the Ortiz Anomaly podcast. I'm here with Robert Atto Castro. And my name is Gus Ortiz, by the way, if you guys appreciate you guys watching. And Robert, your current business, what's the name of your current business?
Jubal Instruments.
Jubal? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Jubal
Instruments.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you guys do?
We are an online guitar store, music store, and we distribute my other brand that is Gayetana Guitars.
Gayetana Guitars.
Yeah, which is the brand, my own creation of nylon string guitars.
Okay.
But we use Jubal Instrument as a main corp to run everything.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. All right. And then how long have you been doing that?
2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I met you as an insurance guy.
Yeah.
So, and it was funny, actually, I think I met you first. I think my first interaction with you actually may have been as a musician.
Yep.
So we were doing was it open mic or something?
Mic,
yeah, we're doing open mic,
yeah.
And I met you as a musician. I was like, oh, this is a cool guy. And then I asked you what you did, and you're like, yeah, I'm in insurance. And I was like, oh, that doesn't seem right. That seems weird. So then we got to know each other from a business perspective, and then like that completely changed. So talk to me about, like, first of all, how long have you been in music?
In music, I started playing when I was 8 years old. So I'm gonna say I'm 30-something years. I don't want to say it. Yeah.
30 plus
Actually,
years.
If I'm honest, it's gonna be 40 years.
Oh wow, okay.
March 20th. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a long time.
Now you always you play right now. Your main instrument right now is guitar. Has it always been guitar?
I started with drums.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then my dad is a guitar player, so for Christmas one Christmas he gave me and my sister guitars.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and my guitar was really little, and my sister was big, so I grabbed my sister guitar, and I started playing, and then my sister like dropped out real quick.
She was not interested.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that's it. Yeah.
That's cool.
But no, I was raised in church, so in church, and my dad was a pastor back then. In church, I was playing guitar, but there were like 3 guitar players. So if the bass player didn't show up, I would play bass.
Oh.
Or I would play drums, or I would play piano. So I can play a little bit of everything, but my main instrument is guitar. Yeah.
Okay. And now are you formally trained in guitar now, or do you just kind of self-taught? Like, how did you even, like, what's your?
I went to music school. In elementary school, there was it's called it's like a school after school program in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
I went there for I think a semester, and I learned how to read, but everything else has been self-taught. Then I went to college, to music college in Puerto Rico as well.
Okay.
But I dropped out. I
didn't like it?
No. Yeah. I did like a year and a half or something like that.
Okay.
And I remember meeting with my teacher, the director, and telling him, I'm learning, but I'm not playing more, And he said, you want to play more, you have to practice. If you want to learn music, you have to study. So he opened my mind about playing really well doesn't mean you have to study music. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. If you want to play well, you have to practice. If you want to learn about music, just study music.
I see. So there's sort of the mental part and then the physical manifestation of it.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. And he said, if you want a BMW, you want, a nice car, maybe this is not the right path for you. And then I went to marketing. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a summary of that. Yeah. But I learned a lot in that, and I took lessons here and there with guitar players, but most of it is self-taught. Yeah, self-taught.
Now, when you go through that process of kind of learning on your own, do you focus on the actual playing itself, or do you actually take time to learn some of the theory, or is it a little bit of a mix of both? Like, how does that?
I study more theory than anything else.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love the theory. I love if I'm playing a note or a scale, I need to know why. What's the reason that sounds good. And I deconstruct that and look at guitar players and jazz players, why that they're doing this and that.
Yeah.
Because one thing is to play, by emotion or whatever, but I have to have an intention of what I'm playing, And if I know the notes and why it's related, then I can forget about that part. I don't know how to explain it, I understand where I'm at. Music is like being in a neighborhood, do you know what places to visit, what places not to visit?
Oh, interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
I see. I see.
If I'm in a chord progression, I know which place I can go, and I know why, so I don't have to think about that or experiment that much.
Gotcha. Because you already have a sort of a foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
But everything else, back in my day, it was a lot of books, reading a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
There was no YouTube.
Yeah.
There was no, downloads or nothing like that. It was listening to CDs, pausing, and I will get a lick, and then why is this guy playing that? Why exactly what's happening here? Instead of just learning it, and I will, do my own thing. Yeah.
So music has always been fascinating to me because one of the things that was really, and I don't remember who I was. It was probably a video that I was watching, but I've heard this multiple times where, there's no wrong way to do music. It's just how can you make whatever it is you're playing sound good? And there are reasons at every turn, like why a certain progression of notes can sound good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's going to be you're still limited to certain rules, because there are certain things that no matter how you play them, like there's something that could be that off note that's there.
Yeah.
But then, like, I was watching a jazz guy, and I'm not as familiar, but I was watching a jazz guy, and he was talking about like off notes, and he said, well, back to your thought process of intention, he's like, well, if you have an intention to use that note, like you can even make a note that's not supposed to be there sound like it's supposed to be there. And I was just like, really, I was blown away by that concept, because like it's the idea of like, oh yeah, that you like your neighborhood analogy, right? Like, all the places that you can go and all the places that you're not supposed to go. But then sometimes like you might hit some place where you're technically not supposed to go. But in jazz, they kind of like they push the boundaries of like what that means, and they'll still kind of throw that little zinger in there, right?
You can do it because in jazz, you have the downbeats and the upbeats, right? So in the downbeat, you should play notes that are related to what the progression is. But in the upbeats, you can do whatever you want.
I see. Interesting.
But you have to land.
You got to land back down.
Exactly.
Interesting.
If you don't land there, then it sounds off.
I see.
Yeah. And the other thing, I forgot to mention, Berkeley from Boston, they went to Puerto Rico when I was in high school.
Okay.
They did a week, and I auditioned, and I went in, and I learned a lot on that point, because they were telling us, these 2 points, the 1, 2, and 3, and 4. You have to hit this note, but you can do whatever you want.
Oh, I see.
Whatever you want.
Interesting.
Chromatics, whatever you want.
Yeah.
But you have to land here.
Yeah.
And then the timing is crucial because, we can go deep into this. It's math, right?
Yeah.
You have from 1 to 2, you have 2 quarter notes, or 8 notes. So you have to mathematically figure it out, the scales,
right?
How to get to that point.
I see.
So
it's like a map.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. But then you have to put a swing on it, because you sound robotics.
So
it's a lot of things that you will have to work out. But it's true. And even they teach me there, you can even play a solo with 1 note, because that's the rhythm part.
All right, that's true.
You can do ta 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 with the same note.
Right.
And that's a solo.
That's right. That's funny.
So it's whatever you have in mind. You have to keep that in mind too. The rhythm part. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really neat. So what now, you were in marketing, and then now did you do anything with marketing at all, or like what like where did you?
Well, I didn't finish that neither.
Okay.
I went to advertising. I was in the marketing advertising, but I have used that all my life.
Sure.
One of the things I learned in college was graphic design.
Gotcha.
Video recording. Photography.
Yeah.
And all that I use all the time.
Right.
When I was running my insurance business, I would do all the art, the website, all that. I learned how to do that.
Yeah.
The thing with me in college was my experience. I wanted to, and my personality, I like to do stuff. So sitting down and learning, right? Back then, I was learning video editing, right? Analog.
Yeah.
And the Mac computers already were doing. We're doing that and I say, why am I learning this now when we're behind?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm working for somebody, I can learn that, and I don't have to pay all this money.
I see.
Yeah. So it wasn't more a practical, approach to college.
Yeah.
So I took most of my the classes were like specifically to do stuff, and I skipped a lot of English and math and all that, because
Yeah. It's not as critical, right?
Exactly.
I see what you're saying. Like you're looking like, how can I see this as like how can I apprentice? All right, like almost like apprenticeship. Right, and through work and figure it out through work. I see what you're saying. That's cool. So what led you into the insurance business? Like obviously was that your first entrepreneurial endeavor?
No, actually no. I was working as a graphic designer in Puerto Rico for a newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I went to an advertising agency, and there I noticed how my boss was doing business. He used to run a newspaper, magazine, I think.
Yeah.
What's it called? Yeah, magazine. And then I said, you know what? I think I can do that.
Mm.
So I quit and I opened my own ad agency.
Okay.
And I invented this miniature magazine, in Puerto Rico, and I went door to door to sell ads. And that was my first business. I sold the whole. I made like $2,000 back then.
Okay.
In ads. It was a weekly thing, so it was really good.
Yeah.
But then I got married and I needed something more stable, and an opportunity showed up here in the United States to open an insurance agency or be an agent for a carrier from Puerto Rico.
All right.
And then we moved. Yeah.
Interesting. So you started out working with someone else as an insurance agent.
Yeah.
And then you saw that and you're like, oh, I can do this too.
Yes. Yeah, I go and learn, and then if
you feel like you could do it, you just went ahead and you just created your own. Okay. And how long were you in insurance?
I worked with that company for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I went to another agency for 6 months, and I got I think I can run this better than these two guys that I work for, because I don't know. I just thought about that. Yeah. And so I decided to open my agency, and I did that one. Was called Atlantic Insurance. We ran it for almost 3 years, and then somebody offered to buy it from me, and I sold it. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So it was kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just started another one right after that?
After that, no, I moved to New York. I have a long story.
Yeah. That's this is what this is about. It's cool.
After that, I moved to New York because I saw that agency, but I have a do not compete clause.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to New York because I could work there, and I started working with State Farm.
Oh, okay.
Because I wanted to learn how to do it, like the big guys.
Yeah.
So we were there for a year, and we have Emilia, my oldest daughter. She was born before we moved there.
Mm-hmm.
So and then when we were there, my wife got pregnant again, and we decided to move to Puerto Rico after that. So I went to Puerto Rico, and I worked for this broker agency, one of the biggest in there. I just right away, man, I went to work with them for almost 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And then I learned how to do the broker business, Before that, I was like an agent for a company.
I see.
But I learned how to be a broker.
Where you actually there are a bunch of different insurance companies, and you choose.
Exactly.
You help them. You help the client choose.
I represent the client instead of the company. Yeah.
I see. Interesting.
And they did everything. I was in the benefits department, doing health insurance for huge companies, life insurance for CEOs.
Interesting.
Millionaires.
Yeah.
And then I came back to the United States, working for MetLife. And I learned a lot there too about, all this, benefits thing. And then I decided to open my own agency.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. With all that knowledge, it was really different because in Atlantic Insurance, I was doing out on home like everybody else.
Yeah.
And the thing about insurance, I felt like I was dying inside.
Yeah. Now you had mentioned that to me, and that's why you ultimately just kind of decided to close that one down or sell it. Really,
sell it. Yeah.
You sold it, and then you opened up this whole new endeavor.
Yeah.
What made you even kind of decide to make guitars? Because that's a whole other
I know. I have been training and getting guitars for all my life. And then the joke is that I used to have 20-something guitars, and my wife was like, "Why don't you, make a business out of this, because you keep doing this all the time?" And I said, "I'm gonna make my own brand." And she said, "No, man, that's not. What about if I name it after you?" Oh.
Now that's a good idea. That was brilliant. That's good thinking right there.
Yeah. So basically, I was looking for this type of nylon. I was raised listening to trios.
Okay.
My dad plays the requinto. Always listening to that. And even though I play in rock and electric guitar, I always like the nylon string.
Yeah.
But when I went to buy nylon string guitars, I couldn't find anything I really like. Nylon strings or classical guitar their neck is really wide.
Yeah, it's got Spanish style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was able to find this manufacturer overseas I can design guitars and they can make it for me through a luthier from Argentina. It was a big move. I was working in that for years, trying to get that done. And I have this idea of making a requinto, which is a small guitar that I use on the trios. That is a high range guitar. It's like an ukulele kind of tuning. Okay. I wanted to make that one with a 7-string, so I can have a better range.
Interesting.
And I was able to find this luthier that was able to make it for me.
Now, just explain what a luthier is for people who don't understand that language.
A luthier is a person or a professional that makes guitar for a living.
Okay.
Yeah, they know how to build from the ground up a guitar. I know a little bit about it,
But you really need someone who specializes in
exactly, that. Because, if I do that, then I cannot play, I cannot. And it will take me years to get the experience that this guy has.
Yeah.
So we were back and forth, talking about the guitars, prototypes. I have somebody locally, a Puerto Rican artisan. It will be somebody that makes, he made one prototype for me, and that I went from there. And I was able to, do this production overseas. High quality guitars. It was a risk because,
of course,
I didn't know the market. I wanted that guitar for me, but I needed to make 20.
Yeah.
Because they were not going to make one.
You're right. Well, I mean, they probably could, but it'd be real expensive.
So I take the 20 and I will sell them, and it has been going good,
Okay.
It's a lot of, how do you say that? I have to explain what it is because nobody is looking. People are looking for that type of guitar, but it's a niche, a really niche.
Yeah. So I was actually going to ask you, like, what is it that differentiates is it the Gayetana?
Gayetana, yes.
What differentiates this type of guitar versus your traditional nylon string guitar that you find in any other guitar place? Like, what's unique about this guitar?
Well, the quality first. We use, high quality hardware. We have better pickups than anybody else. Even the pegs are high quality. Like, you can have pegs that will go from this one are micro tuning, so you can go until you get the note right. Some of them you're going too high or too low, and you have to be messing with that. And the wood that we use is high quality, and we hired like 2 builders overseas to build like 30 guitars for us. It's small batch.
Now, just real quick, because I want to make sure that there's clarity here. You have these are acoustic guitars, but they have pickups, so they can be plugged in.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, because I'm electric guitar players, and I'm thinking always on the gigging musician. I want a guitar that will sound good, amplified. The problem with the acoustics is that they sound horrible through a PA if you don't have a good pickup system. So the ones that we use is Fishman, is a good brand, and they have a mic inside too. So you have a pickup on the bridge, but then you have a small mic inside that will capture that resonance.
That's like the resonance. I see.
Yeah. And,
I gotcha.
And they have a feedback cutter too. If you have a feedback, you have a notch button that you can kill that.
I see.
So it's pretty. I have used it in high volumes. No feedback.
No
at
issues.
All.
Okay. And is it? And otherwise, it's now. You had mentioned that the challenge that you had with the Spanish guitars was the neck was a little fatter. So is the neck thinner on this one?
All of them. The neck is really thin, narrow. I just have 2 models that are real classical guitar because people always ask for them.
Okay. Now those like the 6-string classical.
6-string, Okay. But the other one are 6 strings. But I have one that is like almost like an electric guitar neck. It's called the Giraldo. I have the Aponte that is like a flamenco type of guitar, but again the scale is shorter.
I see.
Narrow neck, slim. So you can play with a pick, and it feels like an electric guitar.
Interesting.
And the other thing that I like about them is that all of them have a cutaway. So
What
you
does that
can,
mean?
instead of being round, it has a like a cut here, so you can go all the way
Oh, I see
to
what
the
you're
higher
saying.
frets. Yeah,
Makes it easier.
yeah, yeah. Which classical guitar players they don't like.
I got you.
Yeah.
Now, why is that? Why is it that they don't like that?
Because they're used to, when they get to that part, they know that's the 12th fret.
I see.
You know, classical guitar, they don't have dots. They don't, you know, they don't have.
Yeah, that's cheating.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but that was the idea. And then I have the 7-string guitars, nylon string guitars, a regular nylon string 7-string guitar that is tuned like a regular guitar, but the last string, the 7, I tune to A as a drop A. Or you can do it as a B, and you have like a bass note. Literally, you're playing the bass notes on a bass.
I see.
Yeah, on that range.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you have both 6-string and 7-string guitars.
Yeah.
And then the other difference is that you have a variety of necks in terms of their thicknesses.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's also some size differences.
I have like a thin line that is this thin, the body of the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an electric guitar, basically.
Oh, okay.
Kind of shape. A lot of people have done the same thing. Mine, I did them in maple or in siricote.
Now, how does that change?
Because from that tiny body, the resonance is huge, you know, because that would really breathe, you know. And the same with siricote, that is from Mexico. It's a beautiful brownish wood, and it's really warm. So you play that, and it sounds like a full body guitar, but on that, you know, slim
Interesting.
body. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, very cool.
And the bracings inside too, they're moved to put more bass on it. So yeah, they sound great, man. You know, and so far all the reviews have been, people love it. You know.
Now, are you only doing guitars, or do you also do basses like that too?
I'm not doing basses.
Okay,
no.
okay.
I'm gonna be doing electric guitars soon, 7 strings. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But for jazz, you know.
So you're going to be basically taking kind of like the same style of guitar, and you're going to make that into like a full electric.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm working with that. Because if you look for a 7-string guitar out there, all of them are for rock. They have all these cuts, and if I'm playing a jazz gig with one of those guitars, it's not gonna be the sound that I'm looking for. You know?
I see. So how do you manipulate sound on an electric guitar?
Well, I'm gonna do a mine semi-hollow body.
Oh, I see. So I get some resonance in the guitar itself.
Yeah. Pickups, jazz pickups, you know.
Interesting.
Rosewood fretboard, you know, all the things that, you know, a regular, you know, kind of jazz guitar would have, but with an extra 7-string with an narrow neck too, because that's the thing. You don't want the player to feel that they have to relearn the fretboard.
Right.
You know.
Now, why are traditional Spanish classical guitars such a wide neck compared to like what we see for like other guitars?
They play with their fingers, right? Finger style. So most of them, they have told me when they play my guitars that they cannot fit their fingers between the string that well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So they need that space.
So why not like make it narrow at the top and wider at the bottom?
You cannot. Yeah.
It has to be straight.
Yeah. I mean, it opens a little bit, but not that much. It will lose. The tuning will be horrible.
Oh, would it?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I don't know anything about that.
There's a specific formula from the knot to the bridge. It has to be certain distance. So if you take that here, it will be a longer distance, right?
I see.
Yeah.
What if you curved?
Maybe that could be an idea.
Maybe we'll go into partnership with that one.
Yeah, but it's tricky, man. Tuning is tricky, and most guitars are not tuned all the way.
Okay.
Because there's some necks that come now that are moved. The frets are moved in different spaces. Just because of that, you know, it's like they're in tune, but they're not perfect tune. You know, the farther you go down the neck, it gets a little bit, you know.
Interesting. Yeah, it does.
That's in every guitar.
Yeah. So there's always going to be something that you play is going to be slightly off.
Yeah.
That's part of, I think, also what differentiates like a guitar from, let's say, a piano. Yeah. Right. Because one of the things that guitars, and because I think guitars tend to play like above the music, right? Like on top of the music, like it has the ability to like, and then you guys also, you can bend and stuff like that. Like the offness of it is part of the is part of the cool sound that you get from a guitar.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's sort of like, it's not perfect.
Mhm.
I think that sometimes, and it's interesting because like when you listen to music today, like one of the things that's different from music that was played in, let's say, the 70s versus music that's played today is even if you just think about like just the drums, right? Music today, when you hear music today, it doesn't breathe, right?
That's right.
Because it's a beat maker usually,
Yeah.
right? So it's perfect. Like the beats are
Mhm.
perfect.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
beat is perfect, right? But then you hear music that was recorded in the 70s, for example, and it was usually a drummer.
Yeah.
Like you had to have a drummer who actually played the music, and there was no perfect drummer.
No.
So like
Well,
I'm just saying, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's the you know, like the little bit of like slightly not
Yeah.
per you know, the music kind of like you're on a wave, you know.
Mhm.
So as you hear the music, you're just kind of on this wave where today's music is very much like it's
computer based.
yeah, it's very straight.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's no breathing in it. It is what it is, and that's it. It's very rigid. You know what I mean?
It is, and I used to have a recording studio. I forgot to mention that part in Puerto Rico.
Of course you did.
Yeah, that was my other business. Yeah, and I started recording bands from colleges. You know,
Mhm.
they wanted to have a demo,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I had a hard time was with the drummers keeping the beat.
Mm.
You know, like they will play live and they will sound good, but when they go to the studio, you know, it was horrible. You know,
Now, why do you think it was different in the studio versus live?
when you record in the studio, you have to record by parts. No, you cannot record everybody at the same time.
Oh, I see.
Most of the time, and if you do, and somebody messed up, you have to. Back then, you needed to drums. You needed to start all over again.
Oh, I see.
Because if you do a crash, right, a cymbal, and then you mess up, that cymbal is gonna
Yeah, it's
keep ringing
resonating.
for
Yeah.
a long time. So you needed to do it again. And back then, I started recording with computers when nobody else was doing that.
Mm.
At the end, but then I learned this: there are some studio musicians and some live musicians. I have these two drummers that will go to my studio and record for somebody else, but if you put them to play live, they will be horrible because they don't have any expressions.
Oh, there's no
They
feel.
are too rigid.
Yeah.
You see, so
Which is ideal for studio.
exactly.
I see.
Yeah. So that was what part of the problem. But yeah, I agree with you, man. Back then, you needed to know how to play.
Yeah.
You know,
And you had to play through.
and copy and paste wasn't something
Yeah, that wasn't
that
a thing.
easy. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I think technology is great, but you need to have a balance.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. You cannot be doing like I remember, people just recording one verse or one chorus and then copying that and pasting every other chorus and verse. And,
Yeah, and it sounded exactly the same every chorus.
But then you're losing that feeling.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same. What do you think about there are musicians right now that they never played instrument. They do, but they are computer musicians.
So, give me an example.
They make music on software.
Yeah, so they make like beats and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they copy lines that are already made and they put them
Oh,
together.
sampling.
Yeah,
I mean,
they make music, but
it's an art form, right? And
Yeah.
I think that there is certainly an appreciation to that art form. And I mean, me personally, I've never really liked like anything that was that's not true. I mean, there's some fully electronic music that I appreciate, but I've always had a preference towards music that has sort of an organic feel to it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have an organic feel when the entirety of the music is built on a computer.
Yeah.
Right? It just doesn't have that the only way I could explain is like that breath.
Yeah.
Right? And so I don't think that it's necessarily bad, but it's just not my personal preference. I've heard some really cool stuff with some of the things that they do. And then the other thing is I guess, I do feel like it, at least in the credits, like if you have a song in the credits, like I almost feel like you should at least give some credit to the samples that you pulled,
Exactly, yeah.
right? Like if you did and you pulled, you pulled samples from 15 different songs to make your song, I feel like you should at least give credit, like, hey, samples came from, and then kind of identify
I agree.
them.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if you don't pay royalties on it because it's too small
Mhm.
a sample or something like that, but at least give credit, like, hey, I made this from these samples, right? So that way the original musician at least gets a credit to be like, oh, that's where that's from, right? You at least, the person listening can at least see where it's from. So I would say that would be the fair thing to do.
I agree.
I don't know it's necessary for them to have to pay royalties on like a clip, if it's really small. But I mean, again, I then it becomes a challenge of like, well, what is too small? Like, how much of a sample can someone take before they have to pay royalties on it? Because at some point, like, there is like, hey, you're actually taking their intellectual property, right?
Yeah.
So it's tough. I mean, I appreciate. It's like it's kind of like graffiti. When graffiti first started,
Mhm.
right? And it was like street art, right? But it wasn't really seen as street art. It was just seen as graffiti,
Exactly.
right? And people didn't have an appreciation for it. But there were some really good artists that were out there, right? And now it's not the same because they're not taking. But I guess the idea is that it's a new way of putting art together, and it's
I agree. Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I mean,
Yeah,
I think there's certainly an area of appreciation that should come from that, because there's certainly a creative
It's
element.
a lot of work too.
Yeah.
It's just that they're not 100% original.
It's not 100% original, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's original in that it's a new way to it's a new way to introduce other pieces of music, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like getting a piece of artwork, and then you made that artwork from cutting pieces of other people's artwork, and then you turn it into something else. So you still something new there, right? But it's from it's built on top of other people's work.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I do feel like there should be at least credit applied, even if you don't necessarily pay royalties on it. The person who's making the art should at least say, hey, this was my inspiration for this, putting this together. And at least you give homage to the original artist. You know what I mean?
Now there's a lot of artists now that they like. I have some drums, from professional drummers. They put those loops up there so you can use them royalty free.
Yeah.
The question is if I say that on my recordings or not. If I say, hey, this loop was made by so and so, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I would say for royalty free, I would say that you don't have to do that,
right? Yeah.
Because they're specifically putting it. They're selling that piece for you to use it free, right? You know what I'm saying?
But I can say, hey, I'm recording with Nathan East on the bass, Literally, it's him, right?
That's true. That's true. But I think that it's interesting, because I mean, that definitely, there's so many tools like royalty free pieces of music that
it helps a lot.
For sure.
My question is because nowadays, I started to produce music for other people. But you know how it is, the budgets. If I record everything live, it will be enormous budget, like a lot of money.
Yeah.
So you can use drums from this and bass lines from this, or sounds, and you can make, almost everything now in your home studio.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Then you think, well, man, but is it original? Yes, it is. The idea is original. I'm just having a beat that is it's not a complicated beat.
Yeah.
Play by a studio drummer. So I think that will work. Now,
I mean, there's still an arrangement component. That's
exactly,
original.
Yeah. Because you're arranging everything.
Yeah.
Right? On the other hand, what is the gain of recording music right now? There's no money. Like if you invest $5,000 on a demo song, right? How long is it gonna take for you to get the money back? Selling music
as an artist. Yeah, that's. I mean, well, I think that's twofold, right? Because it's also easier than ever to get your music out into the public, right? Because you can put your music on all the different social platforms.
I do.
And not only that, but you could also, like, connect with podcasters, say, hey, I'd love to do your intro music. I have some songs that might work. If you're open, you can use it for free, and that way you get some attention. Your music gets some attention because there's a podcaster who's using it as part of their intro or whatever the case may be. So like, there's so many ways to get your music out now. It's just
getting paid is a problem.
That's the problem. Getting paid is the problem. So then that's where, like, if the music is good enough, the goal is to try to find ways to gain some fame so that people you become in demand. And now you can do other things like, oh, well, now I have a fan base. Let me sell T-shirts and hats and jackets and sweaters and socks.
But
and
it's a long game.
It's a long game. But you get ownership of it, right? Because think about how it was before. Before, you had to work with a studio, and the studio took everything, and you got some narrow piece.
That's my point. Like I get paid by Spotify like 0.001.
Yeah, of course.
Every stream. So who's making all the money there?
Right.
I'm not famous, right? But or that famous, but I should be getting paid more.
I agree. I would agree with you. I think that, but that's always been the challenge with art in general.
Like before, you can sell a track for 99 cents, man. You get the 99 cents. Now I'm getting nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm finding people that want to do music, but they don't want to spend that much money on one song if they're gonna get paid 0.001 cents. For every stream, because what you can make more money just on YouTube, posting that music without royalties.
Right. Just do the ad revenue.
Yeah. So
now I would agree with you, and I think that
that's the challenge that we have right now. Musicians,
Well, this is a challenge, I think, for all artists, right? All artists in general not all artists. It's not true. Most artists have very poor business sense, and a lot of times there's also a negative stigma with regard to business in art, that somehow, like, if you apply your art form in a business environment, that you're somehow selling out.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure you've heard this, right? Like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's selling out, right? Right?
I did.
No, but I mean, that's how you make money.
Yeah, but back in the day, I had a rock band, progressive rock band in Puerto Rico, and I put an album there. I recorded everything, in my home studio. We got a meeting with a label, man.
Yeah.
On a big, hey, we want to sign you guys up, but we want to record everything. We don't like the quality. And I just said, I'm leaving, and I left.
Yeah. That was your chance.
Nobody gonna take my art away. You know how many times I regret that? So I understand what you're saying,
because there's a pride into what you
do.
My
baby, man.
Yeah, of course. But I think all artists have that challenge. That's a tough challenge, because the problem is that and whether that's a studio having an interest, or saying, you know what, I'm gonna make music for I'm gonna use my music and use it in advertising to help sell widgets, right? Like, or I'm going to use my drawing or my visual art ability to make marketing materials, or to, what I'm saying? Like, all of that stuff. Artists are the ones who make the world beautiful in everything that you see. So all the beautiful things that you ever see, that's made by some person who's super creative. Came up with that, right?
Look at this wall.
Yeah. So there's art that exists in all the beautiful things that we see, and a lot of times artists, I think, have a hard time with this idea of, like, oh, I'm going to use my art form, my unique art form, to make marketing materials. Oh, that's selling out. I wouldn't do that, but that's how you can make money.
Here comes a starving artist.
Yeah. But I mean, to me, you got to think about it the other way around. Like, as a business, if you want to do art as your business, then you got to figure out how to integrate it into some kind of business that is not necessarily artistic in nature, and that the end result, the purpose, is not for the sake of art. Like, you find some way to do that, and then you have that gives you the money to live and do what you want to do in your life, so that you can have the creative,
That's what I'm doing with my guitar brand, because I know just playing music, I cannot support my family, So I said, what do I like to do? I like to play guitars, right? So my goal is that my day to day to be research and development. Looking at ways to make different guitars.
Yeah.
Playing them, doing videos about them.
Right.
It's creative.
Yeah, for sure.
But it makes money too. I'm selling a product, and then the music goes attached, whatever I'm playing.
Right. Because you get a chance to play the thing that you're actually selling.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, how did you like? What do you feel like? Because obviously you owned a number of businesses prior to getting into this business. Like, what would you say were some of the biggest takeaways from the previous businesses that you owned that made it easy for you to, or that you feel like you were able to kind of like leverage that knowledge to be able to build out this guitar brand?
Well, one of the reviews that I have the most is that we have a great customer service. I have been doing customer service for 20 years.
Yeah.
In insurance business.
Yeah.
So things that you learn translate
for
to
sure.
whatever business you're doing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So that, obviously the design of the webpage, all that, people like the way it's designed. I've been designing all that for many years.
Yeah.
So I'm applying that. But yeah, having, when you're an entrepreneur, man, there's some kind of faith that you have to have.
For sure.
Because you're taking risk.
Yeah.
So I'm coming from a risk adverse industry that is insurance, right? Insurance, you're always thinking what's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
So when you are in that mentality, everything that you do, that translates to, one of the things that I am applying now is looking at my business and looking what can go wrong and trying to put a fence there. You know what I mean?
I see. Yeah. Yes, so sort of building your bunker.
Exactly. Yeah. On the other hand, you have to take a risk.
Yeah.
So I took a huge risk doing this.
Yeah.
My only problem is that I always want things to go really fast.
Yeah.
And it takes time.
That doesn't work that way. Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because I was actually talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and he's like, he had mentioned he's opening a brokerage, and he had mentioned that he's like, maybe I'm delusional, but whatever, right? And I was like, well, as an entrepreneur, like, we kind of have to be a little delusional. Like, that's kind of part of the process. Like, there needs to be a little bit of a delusion of like, like, you have to be able to imagine a thing that doesn't exist and just feel like I can turn this into reality. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you have to.
And that kind of seems delusional. Like, when you think about that, like, hey, this thing that doesn't exist, I'm just going to manifest it into reality. Yeah. Like, that sounds delusional.
It is.
You know what I'm saying?
It is. And when if I think everything true, I will never open a business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to have some kind of ignorance.
Yeah.
I did my research. There are huge competitors out there, people making guitars for many years. But what do I have that they don't have? Invention, maybe. They know exactly what they have to do to sell so many. But there's a lot of people there. And I read a book called How to Make Hits. Really good book.
How to Make Hits.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it explained how to make, studying how people make recording music hits and product hits. And one of the example was that Steve Jobs, he started doing the iPod first, touch, and then became the iPhone.
Yeah.
How you have to train people, so they can jump into, because if you start with the iPhone right away,
it would be too much.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So that's why I started my brand with 6 strings and then 7. And then the siete quinto, the short scale, because I wanted people to
progress to it. Yeah, because I could totally see that. Because if you started with the siete quinto, people would have been like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah.
But since you have the 6 string and people understand what a 6 string is, and you add a 7 string, like, "Oh, okay, this is a 6 string with a 7 string on it. I understand that." Yeah. And then now you have this new guitar. People are gonna be like, "Oh, well, I like those two. What is this?"
And exactly what's happening. Yeah. And so things like that help. And reading a lot, man, being, immersed in what is, I'm learning all the time. I tell my wife, I'm tired of learning. You have to learn everything. SEO for the webpage. You have to learn Facebook ads. You have to learn, algorithms, all that stuff, automation now. it's a lot of learning,
Yeah.
and I think entrepreneurs, you have to be some kind of self-taught,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Now, how do you feel about like leverage, like leveraging other people? Like, for example, you leverage the luthier because
Yeah.
like you can take the time to learn it, but it makes way more sense for you to leverage someone who already has that experience,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Like, how do you feel about that as it relates to other parts of your business?
I'm learning to do that now. Thanks for a friend of mine that talked to me into it. I leverage a little bit more on stuff, like accounting wise. I have an accountant now.
Okay.
He said, forget about QuickBooks, just run your business. I will take care of it.
Oh, okay.
Because,
that's awesome.
Yeah, because those things they kill my creativity. Admin stuff kills me, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely.
It's needed, but I prefer to leverage that to someone else. The same now, I'm doing a new logo for the Siete Quinto, and I asked a friend of mine, graphic designer, to do it. And I would like to give away my graphic design too, because I want to see what somebody else can bring to the table.
Sure. Sure.
It's the same with editing videos. Probably I'm gonna
leverage that
out too. Yeah.
What do you feel like that's going to like? How do you think that's going to impact your business? Because obviously there's a cost to that.
It's gonna give me time, man.
Okay.
I have no time. I'm always booked. Now I'm part of planting a church.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's gonna take, and that's something that I'm really passionate about.
Okay.
The gospel. Talking about Christ, and I want to learn how to preach and all that now.
Okay.
So yeah, so I need time now to invest in that.
Yeah.
In my life, yeah. And to be honest, sometimes that I'm learning that now, man. When you're everything relates for me to music, right? When you're part of a band, even my music, I record all that, right? But when I play with my guys, they take them to the next level because I arrange the bass, right? But I'm not a bass player per se.
Right.
When the bass player take that notes and it makes it their own.
Yeah.
The same with the drumming and all that. So
Sure.
I believe the same in business, this is my idea, guys. But if you guys you're expert in this and that, I'm baiting that it's gonna
notch it up a little.
It's gonna sound better.
Yeah. Now, how do you decide like who to work with? Because I think that's part of the challenge, for most entrepreneurs is like trying to figure out like who do I work with? It's not going to completely ruin this baby that I've been creating, right? Because like just like a music album, right? That's your baby. Entrepreneurs very much see their business as their baby. And like, what do you when looking to work with somebody, like, is there anything that you do to kind of like think about whether or not this is going to be a good person for me to work with, or what you have to be, concerned about? Is there any vetting that you think about or anything like that? Is it just a vibe? Like, how do you decide who to work with?
What the same with my band. I play with musicians that are my fans, that they like what I do. Like my guys, they like the music that I compose and they want to play it. Yeah. So I'm looking for people now in my business that want to be part of it. Like my friend, he was, hey, I can help you with your graphic design.
Oh, cool.
And I want to be part of it.
Nice.
There you go. He's good. He really is invested. He wants this to. So that's the people that I'm looking for. Because if I look for somebody else that do not understand the vision or or is not a fan of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Fan maybe it's not the word, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. They believe in it.
They believe in it. Yeah. Then it's gonna, some way or another, it's not gonna work. And I want people that are for the admin stuff. I want people that are straightforward with me. You don't want on that part of the business. You don't want people that are telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear.
Right. You don't want yes people.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, the numbers doesn't match here, or
what's going on? Right?
Yeah, this is their budget. Because we creators, we live in the clouds.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I have both. I can be here or there. Right?
Yeah, but you prefer to be up
there.
Yeah. Much more fun.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. So that I learned, man. I have. I'm an idealist. Is how you call it?
Idealist.
Idealist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in my mind, I have a perfect vision of what I want.
Yeah.
but it's not gonna happen.
That's okay. But that's part of the delusion,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
But I mean, look, that's the whole, like, shoot for the stars, and if you hit the moon,
exactly,
right?
Yeah,
so like, even if it's not perfect, like, it's way better than it would have been had you not done anything.
Exactly.
Right. So I think that is almost a requirement of entrepreneurship, is you kind of have to have a vision that seems unattainable, and you might hit it, but even if you don't, you're still going to get much further than someone who didn't take the chance to go after it in the first place, right? Yeah. So I do think that there's a lot of value to that. I run into that problem myself, where I have a lot of ideas for things, and I have to figure out, okay, what ideas do I want to go after, and then who can I work with to help me get those ideas executed, right? And that to me has been a challenge, because I run into a lot of people that they like what I like the idea that I have, for example, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this and this. I think this is what we can do, and then they don't follow through.
Yeah.
So I've learned to be a lot more cautious about, like, who I decide to partner with, because it's frustrating for me to work with someone who says they're going to do something and then they don't.
That's the worst.
Follow through.
Yeah, I hate that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if it's a friend, then I feel like, this is a friend of mine, and I feel to have a lower opinion of them or whatever. And I hate that, because now I'm like, I see them in a different light, and it's hard for me to stay friends with people like that, because, like, that's not the way that I am. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to commit to something, that's why I'm very careful and cautious about what I commit to, because I'm like, I don't want to commit to something and then not be able to follow through on it. You know what I mean? Because then I
appreciate that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It just looks poorly on me, and I just don't want to do that. And I don't want anyone to rely on me, and then I'm not able to kind of follow through on it. So, it's a challenge. It's been a challenge for me, at least in my business. So I was just interested to hear kind of like what your perspective was.
Yeah, that happened to me a lot when I used to have my agency. We have like 4 employees at one time, and I hated that when I say, hey, you have to do this and that, and then they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating, because then you have to do it,
right,
and then you think, why I'm paying this person if I have to do all the work,
right?
So I understand what you're saying, but in that sense, it's gonna happen, man.
No, I know.
Yeah. And that happened to me a lot. Yeah.
And the reality is, and this is the thing I think a lot of entrepreneurs miss, is that if you're going to be bringing in, whether it's partners or employees or whatever, no one's going to be as passionate about the idea as you are.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? You're always going to be the most passionate about, and if you're not the most passionate person about the project, then you may not be the right person to lead it. You know what I mean? So, like, that being said, I can't have the same expectation of, like, other people that I have of myself, other than, if we agree that XYZ is going to happen, right? And your part is this and my part is that. You just do your part. I don't expect you to do it at the same level as I do my part, because I know that I'm more passionate about this, because this is my project, this is my business or whatever. But I do expect you to at least have some minimum standard for the part that you said you're going to do. You know what I mean? So, and that's hard, because sometimes, you do have people that are, they raise their hand to help, but they don't end up being very helpful.
What in my experience, and this happened with my bands and all that, there's people always that try to attach to you because they think you're going to be successful.
Oh yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
And they say they're going to help and all that, but they're really waiting for you to hit it.
Right. So they can ride.
I was here when that happened.
Right.
So you have to be careful about those people.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the more successful you are, the more likely you are to run into those people.
That happened to me. Not that I'm successful, but it happened to me a few times. And they sell you dreams. Hey, I'm going to do this and that, but nothing happens, because they're not going to move a finger until they see that you got something,
Something, I got you.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that, they're looking for that. Others, I don't like to work with people that they don't have any initiative. Okay. Like when I have my store in downtown Claremont, I said to one of my employees, hey, this wall, I want all the strings to be there. All the strings, put them Whatever order you think is fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I lead. I know I can tell you how to put the strings, you know.
Right. You have to
You know,
micromanage,
yeah,
right?
but how do I, you know? And then I noticed this person wasn't right for that job.
Yeah.
Then I asked my daughter, "Hey, can you do this for me?" And she put everything perfect, you know.
Yeah.
So in my view, an employee or somebody working with you or for you needs to bring something else that you don't have.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, some kind of problem solving,
exactly.
something.
And I hate when people sit on things because they didn't know how to.
Right.
You know, even if you do it wrong, at least you did something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with them. It's just that they're not built that way.
Right.
So it's my fault for hiring people that are not like that.
Yeah.
So in my agency, I started hiring people, you know, before I hired people because I needed someone to pick up the phone. Then I started vetting them better, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Because that can, then getting rid of someone is really hard.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because that's how they make their money. It's how they eat.
And it's not their fault. It's my fault.
Yeah.
I hired them wrong, It was my fault. And the other thing that I learned is people, the way you attract your client, that's the way they're going to expect for you to treat them. When I used to have my agency, when I started, I would pick up the phone all the time, and people like that they could reach me all the time.
Yeah.
So when I started getting bigger, that I couldn't pick up the phone all the time, people start complaining about that because that's why they came to me.
Right.
So I lost a few clients because of that, but I did my calculation. I'm going to lose a little bit, but I cannot pick up the phone all the time.
Right.
But it was my fault.
In order for you to grow, right.
But it was my fault. Then I started gaining clients differently, advertising or word of mouth. You can call this number. Somebody else is gonna take the permission, but I'm gonna run everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
absolutely.
So the way I acquire my clients now on the music and the guitar business, I'm really aware of that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that then in the future
as you grow.
Exactly,
Right.
Yeah.
That's a really setting expectations, right? Which I think that is such a critical part of business, right? Like, so in my business, we do, in real estate, whenever I sit down with a client, like it's really important to set like expectations of the process, right? So they understand like what they can expect, and then usually I'll lay out for them, hey, these are the things that you should expect. This is the time frame that you can think of. This is for the price that you're looking for. These are the challenges we're going to run into, so on and so forth, right? So you set those expectations ahead of time so that there's not like, oh, I didn't know that, right?
Exactly.
So the idea is to kind of set that expectation. And I think the other part of that is also helping them to understand that. So when I do an initial consultation, oftentimes I'll let them know is that I am not always going to be available to pick up the phone. Right. These are my hours that I typically work. This is when I'm typically available. That's
important.
Right. So that I'm not getting phone calls on a Saturday night at 9:00 at night. Right. So, that, and there's not an expectation for me to pick up. Right.
Yeah.
So, so I usually let them know. So what that does though, is that it allows me to overperform, because if I say usually I'm available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? Usually in the evenings and weekends are for my family. And then if I answer the phone at a 7:00 call, they're surprised.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Or if they call me on the weekend and then I call them back, let's say on the same weekend, then they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't mean to bother you. Is usually the response. I just wanted to leave a voicemail.
There you go.
Right. So then I'm overperforming because I set an expectation of this. And now from their perspective, that expectation was set. And then now I'm overperforming on the expectation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Yeah.
So like you kind of set kind of parameters like, hey, here's a number to call. You're likely going to talk to our customer service, support. However, I'll get back to you within 24 hours, let's say. But if you say within 24 hours, and then every time you call back, it's within like 4 hours, you're way overperforming.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
so like you just kind of set this sort of expectation of like whatever it is, right? And then you just you make it somewhat that seems reasonable, and then you overperform on that, right? And then it just makes it seem like you're just like outstanding on your.
And and that's important, man. One thing that I learned later on was to take control of my calendar.
Yeah.
Because people say, hey, you work your own business. No, I have 1,500 business owners, my clients.
Yeah.
I work for them.
Yeah.
I don't work for, so I needed to take care of that. And unfortunately, there are some people that, because they have it was a big account or whatever, they wanted to feel that they owe me.
Oh yeah.
You
They're
know
trying
what
to
I
pull
mean?
their weight. Yeah.
That I will be on vacation. They will call me. They know I'm on vacation, but they wanted me to resolve this problem right now.
Mm,
And I learned, you know what? Do I want to live my life like this?
right.
Because I'm coming on Monday and I can fix that on Monday.
Yeah.
It's just that you want it to be done on Saturday
Right.
because you want to feel like, I'm a big account and you have to work whatever.
So
that kind of deal. Yeah.
I have a solution for that, right? So now what I do is if so I've had clients that have done this where they'll call and I don't answer the phone, right? And then they'll call again within the hour. Like clearly they're trying to get in touch with me, but it's the weekend and I already told them that I don't usually work on the weekend or whatever. So I will then either text message them, or if I pick up the phone, I would just say, "Hey, listen, I'm here with my family. Is this urgent?"
Mm-hmm.
Because typically it's not urgent.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they're just trying to get, "Oh, no." Because usually they'll be like, "Oh, I am totally like, this is not urgent, and I'm totally like getting into his space," right? So that they're like, "Oh, well, no, this is not really urgent. I wanted to blah 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 blah." Oh, okay. Listen, if it's okay with you on Monday, why don't we do a follow-up phone call, right?
Yeah.
And then that way you kind of squash that right there, because it's very rare that you have something that like needs to get done immediately on a Saturday.
Yeah, it's
You know
like,
what I mean?
it was stuff that I would say the insurance carrier is not even open to it. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, right.
There's nothing I can do about it.
Yes,
it's
yeah.
like, but I feel like it was kind of a power thing,
Sure.
We're humans,
Some people are like that. Yeah.
I don't have that problem on my business now.
Yes. Yeah,
but I have, I can see that it's like with venues, that they want you to be there at a certain time, or they want to, people want to own your time.
Mm-hmm.
Time for me is really valuable, man.
Oh yeah, it's the one thing you can't get back.
They can't get back. And and for me, my family is very important.
Yeah.
So for me to get a gig or something on a Friday or Saturday, it has to pay well.
Yeah.
Because if not, I prefer to be with my family.
For sure. There needs to be absolutely.
Yeah. So
the exchange is very high.
Exactly. Yeah. And the older I get, the more I see, and that's the thing, man. I'm a business man. I think mentality, right? So when I see a gig or an offering, it has to make monetary sense to me.
Mm.
That thing about it's gonna be a good exposure. Yeah, sure, it will.
Yeah.
But I need something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's gonna be great exposure.
Yeah.
But it needs to be the exposure I need is to my bank account.
It's not that I'm gonna ask for thousands of dollars, but I'm not a young guy anymore.
Yeah.
You know how many dreams they have sold me, and that
of course.
It's like
it's gonna be great for you.
Yeah.
Everyone, there's gonna be producers there. They're gonna love it, right? This is your opportunity.
Exactly. But you think now any gig that I can record and post online, for me is I'm taking something from it.
Yeah.
And multiplying it. Every time that I can expose my guitars.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, because I have a business attached to it.
Yeah,
it makes a little bit more sense now.
Sure, that makes sense. I can see that.
Yeah.
So typically, when you play these gigs, are you always playing one of your Gayetana guitars, or
no? Because mine, yes. I play my guitars only on my band, on my stuff.
I see.
But when I play with other people, I have to use a Gibson or whatever other guitars. Yeah,
because they play more like rock style music.
Yeah.
Now, are there any of the guitars, like you said, the electric guitar that you're looking, the one that's going to be a little more jazzy? Would you be able to pull that one off?
Yeah, that's my idea. Yeah.
I see.
That's my idea.
And then that would be the guitar that you would play for those kind of gigs.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, I need a guitar and made to my specifications too. Which I want something that I can play jazz and rock.
I feel like that's gonna pop. Like that's the type of thing that because electric guitarists typically like there's not a lot of options.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like there are a lot of like body styles and stuff like that, but there's like I don't think there's a lot of like unique.
It's the problem that we're having on this at this time is that people have formulas. Okay. For example, the music is the same thing. You know, you need a 3-minute song.
Right.
You don't even need a bridge anymore, just a beat. You know, the same with guitars. Everybody wants to make a tele copy or a Stratocaster copy, and if you do anything away from that, you're probably not gonna sell that much because people are looking for the same stuff.
Right.
Unfortunately, you know. But I think it's because nobody is showing them something different.
New and interesting. Yeah.
Interesting, you know. Because I have played so many teles and Strats and Gibson. There has to be something better. You know, we keep remaking the 70s styles.
Yeah.
We don't have anything new in 2024.
Right. Where's the innovation?
Where's innovation? We keep, we have the reissue of the Gibson 1979. But what happened with the 2024? Why?
Where's the new shit?
Exactly, I want the new one. I don't want the one in the 70s.
Right.
You're telling me that you didn't make anything better for this much time, you know? Think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
So what's going on? Is that it's safe to do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot safer. But a lot of people like me, we want something different. We want, you know, I don't want a guitar that everybody have. I want something special. I want something that I can bend it to my style.
Yeah.
Because I don't want the guitar to dictate what I can play. I want to take the instrument and play whatever I want. You know, and that's the thing. And then when I used to have my mini store here in Claremont, I heard that a lot. Yeah, I like this guitar, but that brand I don't know, and I want to, you know, step up, and I want to have a Gibson. And I will explain the best guitar is the one that you like. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter.
The brand doesn't matter.
And probably it's made in the same factory. You know, most of them are the same factory. I know that. You know.
Yeah, right.
You know, so it's the
same guitar, different
yeah.
name.
But if you think about, because a lot of people, you know, they think having a better guitar would make them sound better.
Yeah.
We come back to my professor, and if you want to play better, you have to practice.
Right.
You know,
that's what that fixes that problem. Right.
Yeah, it's not about the guitar at all. Do you need a good instrument? Yeah, you do. You know, that you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But for example, look at my hands, man. Really short fingers. You know, for me, you know, a Stratocaster, the neck is too long for me. I learned that now. You know, Gibson is shorter, so I feel better with that type of scale.
Yeah, okay,
you know?
I see.
That means that every Gibson is the best for me? No, you know, they're different shapes and all that.
Sure.
But I can buy any other off-brand with the same measurements and probably will be the same thing.
Right.
You know, and I have a Gibson Les Paul, beautiful guitar. I like the way it sounds, but I cannot tell you it's the best guitar out there. It's the most expensive probably, but
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I don't like the shape that much.
Right.
You know?
Like you can't mentally justify saying this is the best guitar I've ever played.
Yeah. It's the same style for what, 30, 40 or more than 40 years.
Yeah.
Come on, man, you know?
Well, I mean, that's I guess that's what they're known for, so that's why, right? Yeah. But they're not expanding
their horizons. There's no innovation in the industry, but it's safer that way.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Yeah. That's part of the risk taking that you're doing, right?
Yeah.
But that's also part of, like, I think that is part of the strategic advantage that you have, right? So it's like the strategic advantage that you're leveraging here is you don't have the massive network that they have. You don't have the distribution network that they have. You don't have the manufacturing capabilities that they have, right? But what you do have that they don't have is that you have an innovation element that they don't have. Right.
Exactly, yeah.
And you have, and this is one thing that's good about small business versus big business is small business tends to be very nimble. Yeah. Right. Like we can move a lot faster because we don't have as much as invested. Yeah. And, you know, a shift for us, while it definitely can impact us more, it's also not as much of a risk because you're not moving the Titanic here. Right. So you can kind of move a lot more. Like you have a little more freedom to move, a lot more than some of these bigger
Probably Gibson have like 10 departments that I have to talk to before they can make a change.
Yeah, it's too hard. Yeah, it's too much. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And the numbers.
And then you gotta get the stockholders to be okay with a huge change like that or an investment into that. Well, what's going to be return on that? Well, we don't know.
Exactly.
Like you know what I'm saying?
I and that's why we have boutique guitar shops now. They're selling a lot of guitars. That's a new thing now, you know. So let's see what happens, man. I'm hopefully what I would like to do is make them here in the United States.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Now, when you say boutique guitar shops, is that kind of what your target market is to try to get your guitars into these shops?
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
So you've been like actively reaching out to them?
I've reached like a few of them, you
Okay.
know, in Texas, in California. I sell a lot of guitars in California.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I would say 80% of the guitars that I have sold, 7 strings, are in California.
And are they going to individuals or to shops?
Individuals, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But people have mentioned, hey, can you maybe have few around here so we can play with them or something in a store?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my next step now.
To try to get them into some boutique shops.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do with the people who buy? Do you have like because I feel like this would be a pretty tight knit community because they all play a very unique style guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have like a community of them? Like, is there like a community of Gayetana users?
I have, their contacts. I write to them by email. I don't have like a Facebook community group. Maybe that's a good idea to have. Yeah.
I mean, if they're all like 7-string, like it's or not even 7-string, but just that style, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then they can ask each other and they can see each other playing different things.
Yeah.
And
it's a good idea. I have tried to ask for videos and stuff of them playing, but I don't know. People are timid, man. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think also people are, if they're not very good at what they're doing, or maybe it's too new for them. So, and some people are, like you said, some people are just timid.
I have this great guitar player, man, that bought the Requinto, the Siete Quinto. And he's like, a professional albums. He used to have an instrument kind of similar before. And he loved it, man. He was impressed. And I asked him, can you get a video? And he said, I'm trying to get away from publicity right now. I'm a hermit right now. I don't want, because he was like really famous and he doesn't want to. And I was like, no, man, I need you, But he's like, give me a break. Let me think about it.
Ask him just to do the audio and don't.
Oh, maybe,
just do audio.
I wanted to do a podcast or something.
Yeah.
Because what I built is what he was looking for, man. I said, wow, we are like twin brothers, you know. You know what I'm saying? We are, and he said the same thing, man. Whatever you did, that's exactly what I wanted.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and when
that has to feel good.
Yeah. I'm not the only one. Yeah. So, but let me see what happens there.
Okay.
I would love to, he's in California. I would love to fly there and all that.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if you have that many, how many? I mean, maybe even do like a little like mini conference.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Not, let me see what happened in California now. Is
it's a shit show over there.
But I was thinking about that, man. And Texas too. I have sold a few in Texas.
That's cool.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Florida, definitely. But it's I wasn't expecting California. But after my research, there's a lot of professional guitar players there.
Sure, I can see that.
It's a big scene there.
Yeah.
More than New York right now in terms of nylon string guitars. You're close to the border there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would definitely benefit from creating a community from those people.
Yeah,
I would try to find a way to create a community with those folks.
That's good. Yeah.
And that way you have they could all talk to each other about it, and if they run into any challenges, you could even see any frustrations they're having, and like, oh, let's fix that, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, right? So
that's a good idea.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're getting if the people who are getting it are loving it, they'll probably be happy to be part of a community of other people that are also loving it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And then on those, they'll probably post their video. Oh, this is what I'm doing. Oh, this is what I'm doing, right? Maybe you get videos from those. Yeah. So, just a thought.
Good idea.
I'll send you an invoice.
I love to talk to you, man. You're full of ideas. Yeah. That's awesome.
Cool. Hey, listen, I want to be respectful of your time. I really appreciate you coming out and just having a conversation with me about your businesses and specifically about your latest project, which is Gayetana Guitars, and that is part of the organization is called
Jubal Instruments.
Jubal Instruments. And how can people find you?
You can go to my website, GayetanaGuitars.com or attomusic.com.
ATTO
Music, yeah.
Music.com.
That's my nickname, yeah.
Okay,
Attomusic.com. Or you can go to reverb.com and look for Jubal Instruments, and we're there too.
Oh, cool. And then what about social? Are you on?
Just go Instagram, Atto Music, ATTO Music, and you will find me there.
That's
YouTube
awesome.
Too, yeah.
Okay, very cool. Well, listen, this has been Roberto Atto Castro, and I really appreciate you taking the time. If you guys like what you're seeing, or if you have any questions, please make sure you like, share, and comment below. If there's anything else that you want us to talk about at any of these, please leave a comment. Let us know. If you want to reach Atto over here or have any questions about his guitars, you know where to find him. And I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace. Nice.
Awesome.